So hello everyone, parents and carers of children currently in year 5. This is the presentation for you with slides from Midway Council on the transfer of your child to secondary school for September 2023. Yes, as I said in an email a couple of weeks ago, it has started, and how quickly they grow up once they get that secondary school uniform on. But a lot is going to happen in the next few months, and if you've been through it previously with an older child, in recent years the process hasn't changed. If you are new to this process, it can seem very complex in the first instance. But either way, we are here for you. The first piece is this presentation, which, as I say, all the slides have been put together by Midway Council, and I'm going to talk you through those slides in this video. And then we've offered you already, which you've had through email, and I'll remind you at the end of these slides, an opportunity to come and talk to us one-to-one about your specific circumstances and what you're thinking for your child for secondary school, because we think that can be a really important part of it. But also, at any point, just come and ask us. If we haven't got an answer there and then, we'll do our best to find out. But the one thing we can't do is answer the question, where should I send my child? That is going to have to be your decision, but we'll give you information that helps you along the way. So let's go through these slides, as I say, which have been issued by Midway Council to Midway primary schools this week. But I thought rather than just pushing them out to you as a slide pack, I'd talk you through them. Okay, so as I say, the process has started. And there are several things for you to go through and decide, one of which is whether or not you wish your child to sit the grammar selection test. Is a first bit of a decision to make, and then it's about which schools you're going to put on your form. Key dates. So these are the key dates through the whole process. So from Wednesday the 1st of June, the online registration for the Midway Grammar Selection Test is open via the Midway Council website. And that will close on the 30th of June. On the 5th of July, requests for special arrangements, which I'll go through what that means through this presentation. That's the closing date for those. And then that's it this side of the summer, apart from hopefully some talking at home about the options available. But then on the 5th of September, the school application process opens. And again, that's online, and I'll talk to you about that. Midway test dates are in the middle of, Midway grammar selection test dates are in the middle of September. Then early October, so the 4th of October, you find out if your child has sat the Midway grammar selection test, you will find out the results of that. And then there's a process of reviews. But by the time you get to the end of October, the Monday the 31st of October is the national closing date for applications for secondary school places. So there's not a Midway date, that's a national date that closes. And then you've got quite a long period of time before National Offer Day. So the National Secondary School Offer Day will be Wednesday the 1st of March 23. And then you've got that month really to decide whether to accept or refuse that place. And then the council will go through a process of reallocating any places, and that carries on right up until almost the end of December 23. And after that point, it becomes the responsibility of each of the secondary schools around admissions. So We've got a few things to go through, but I'm going to start first of all with the Midway grammar selection test and then other testing arrangements that some schools have got. After I've done that bit, it will then be the generic process of application. So as to say, these next few slides are about the grammar selection test. So the Midway grammar selection test is for grammar schools only. There is a Kent test that you might hear about as well. That is for Kent grammar schools. Having said that, as I said, this process wasn't necessarily straightforward. Having said that the Kent test is for Kent grammar schools, in the last few years, both Holcombe Grammar School and Chatham Grammar School have considered children who have passed the Kent test. But the Midway test, the Midway grammar selection test, applies to the 6 grammar secondary schools in the Midway area. That is Chatham Grammar, Fort Pitt Grammar School, Holcombe Grammar School, Raynham Mark Grammar School, Sir Joseph Williamson's Mathematical School, and the Rochester Grammar School. In addition, the Howard School, which is a boys' school, has and can accept children who have been assessed as grammar into their grammar selection of that bilateral school. What I just want to say, which is not on these slides, is that you may have seen in the local press recently, there is a consultation on some of these grammar schools moving from single-sex grammar schools to becoming mixed grammar schools. That is a consultation, but it does not affect this September 23 start. So, first question to ask yourself is whether your child should sit the Midway grammar selection test. So, as I said before, whilst the application for that test opens on the 1st of June, strongly recommend you come to that meeting and have a conversation with us before applying for that. We will give you the most up-to-date assessment data we've got in school. Children in Year 5 sat a series of assessment tests last week. So once they're marked, we've got the most up-to-date information for you alongside what they are doing in the class that may help you make that decision. What is also useful is a few years ago, Midway moved to a testing before preference system. This means that the Midway grammar selection test results are known before the deadline to put in your secondary application form, which can be really helpful to know that information first. Then there's another bit of a kind of question: can my child sit a grammar school test in more than one area? As I mentioned, we've got Midway grammar selection test. There's also Kent grammar selection test. Yeah, they can sit as many of them as they like if you can find them in other areas as well. But the Midway grammar selection test is for the Midway grammar schools. Midway says it recommends that your child take tests in areas where you are seriously considering a school for them to attend, and don't get them sitting tests unnecessarily, and I would agree with that. If you are thinking of your child sitting a grammar selection test in an area other than Midway, then you need to look at the information on that local authority website. However, Midway wishes me to remind you that there is no opportunity to change the Midway test date if it clashes with a test you wish your child to sit in another area. So when and where are the Midway tests being held? So for this year group, they will be Tuesday the 13th and Wednesday the 14th of September in this school for children who attend Byron Primary School. They will also, Midway will also be running test days on Saturday the 17th and Sunday the 18th of September, but that is for children who attend schools that are outside of the area of Midway. The only opportunity for your child to sit the Midway test is therefore in school on Tuesday the 13th and Wednesday the 14th of September. There's not an option between the two. Some of the tests are on the Tuesday and others are on the Wednesday. There is also no opportunity to register or sit the test at a later date. How do I register my child to sit a test? Well, that's straightforward. As I said, registration opens at 9 AM on Wednesday, the 1st of June, and closes at 5 PM on Thursday, the 30th of June. But you register online at the website there on the screen. If you require a paper registration rather than filling out that application electronically, we don't hold those at school. You need to contact Midway Council. If you live outside of Midway and you want your child to sit a Midway test, then you do it electronically, as it says at the top of this slide. If you live in Midway but you want your child to sit a grammar test in another area, you contact that local authority. If your child's got an education and healthcare plan, yes, they can sit the test because the Midway test is open to all children in Year 5 who wish to be considered for a Midway grammar school place. If your child does have an EHCP, I strongly recommend you arrange to have a conversation with Miss Knight, our SENCO, about your grammar, not just grammar selection test, but all of the schools that you might put down on your form. There is also an opportunity to consider special arrangements for a test. Once you've registered your child for the grammar selection test, you need to come and have a conversation with me or one of the senior leadership team here about any access arrangements, which are possibly available, but there's a very short turnaround between the deadline for registering your child for the Midway grammar selection test and applications for special arrangements to be made. Special arrangements may be appropriate for, as I said, a child who's got an EHCP plan or that has a learning difficulty or a disability which significantly affects their ability to access tests. So examples of that might be a hearing impairment, a visual impairment, processing difficulties, or a physical or motor difficulty. Another example might be a medical condition that requires management during tests. Once again, special arrangements is a common theme throughout this process. Late requests cannot be considered. But if you think you're wanting your child to sit the Midway grammar selection test and they might be eligible for special arrangements, come and talk to us. So what does the Midway test consist of? Well, it's 3 tests. So there is an extended writing paper, a maths paper, and a verbal reasoning paper. Just please bear in mind that the Kent test does not have the same 3 tests. It has a non-verbal reasoning paper. So the Midway grammar selection test is designed to select 23% of children in the year group across Midway for grammar school education. That means that they leaves a little bit of a gap of a further 2% that can be allocated through a review process, but that makes that process extremely difficult. Each of the papers is marked based on the number of correct questions for the maths and the verbal reasoning, and against a very strict specific criteria for the extended writing. the marking provides raw scores, and then those raw scores are standardized, which means that the scores are weighted on a table to reflect the child's exact age at the time they're taking a test. This means that if your child's born in June or July, they shouldn't be penalised versus somebody who was born in September or October. But just to say, those tests are not marked by schools. Okay, so they are collected at the end of the test and then they are externally marked. So each year, a minimum score is set to determine those that through the Midway grammar selection test are assessed as appropriate for grammar school. That score is set to select 23% of the children in the year group, and it differs year on year dependent upon the size of the year group and how well that year group have done at the test. So Midway Council won't know what that pass mark is until after all of the test papers have been marked and standardised. So purely for information there, you've got the last on this slide, you've got the last 6 years, and you can see that that can vary quite significantly year on year. To calculate the total weighted score though, the standardised score of the writing is multiplied by 2. And that is added to the maths score, which has been multiplied by 2, and that is added to the verbal reasoning score, and that gives an overall score. When you get the result, if your child sits the Midway grammar selection test, when you get the result, you'll also get what the threshold mark was as well, so you can see how close or far away they were, which may be helpful in determining what you do next. Test results, so you should get a notification from Midway Council on the 4th of October. If you registered online, it's the quickest way of getting a result as well. Email will be sent after 4 p.m. on that day. It says after that. I have known on occasion that it has been earlier in the day than that, but that is the guidance that they have given, and that communication will include details of what to do next. And that what to do next can be determined by whether or not you're satisfied with the result. If your child has not been assessed as suitable for grammar school following the test and you feel that they are of grammar ability, you can request a review of your child's work. That's a parental decision, but please come and talk to us if you're thinking of that, because there are other options. One of which is an appeal, which is done later in the year, and we'll talk through the specifics of that if that is something you're thinking about at the time. If you do go for a review, though, it's a request to go through the work that's in their books. So it can't consider anything else. It's purely of what's in the books at the times. And we would have to submit that work, not part of a panel that would then consider whether your child is suitable for grammar selection test. That's done independently of the school. The outcome of a review doesn't change the score, it would just potentially change the assessment decision. It's quite a tight turnaround on all of that as well. So the reviews are known by parents and carers by the 21st of October. That's critical, again, that process has gone through before the deadline for school applications for secondary school, which is the 31st of October. What happens if you miss closing date for the Midway test? Well, there are no late registrations. So your next opportunity is to apply as a casual admission, but that's from term 3 of when they've started year 7. So it's a long wait. There are, just to complicate matters, so as well as a Midway grammar selection test, there are a number of non-grammar schools in Midway who require all applicants to sit a fair banding test. So for this September 2023 start, those schools are Brompton Academy, Strood Academy, and the Victory Academy. So fair banding test is there to assess a child's level of ability. It is absolutely not a pass or fail or a selection test, but it is used to ensure that students from across an ability range are admitted into that year group. So it's a way of a secondary school being able to make each cohort as similar to one another as possible, because they will, as I said, they will take a range of ability. So if you are thinking of applying to any of those schools, you need to look on those schools' websites, on the admissions page of those websites for the date and application forms. If you're coming to a meeting with us, we'll talk, and you mention one of those schools that you're interested in, we will let you know about that too. So now I'm going to talk through the final few slides of this are about the application form for a secondary school place. So whether you've sat the grammar selection test or not, there is a process of applying for a secondary school place. It's not managed by the school, it's all managed by Midway Council. So it's not managed by Byron Primary School, it's not managed by the secondary school that you're applying for. This is the responsibility of the local authority. So applications open on Monday the 5th of September and close on Monday the 31st of October. As I said previously, that closure date is a national date. To apply for secondary schools, if you live in Midway, you apply via the Midway Council website. If you don't live in Midway, you must apply to the council for whom you pay your local your council tax to. So in most cases, that would be if you don't live in Midway, it would be Kent. So even if you are putting Midway school down and you live in Kent, you apply to Kent. Even if you are putting a Kent school down and you live in Midway, you apply to Midway. You can apply for any secondary school you wish, apart from special schools, and it doesn't matter where they are. Obviously, you must be able to get your child there, okay? But the important thing is you apply via your home local authority. So for most of you, that will be Midway. The website is on the slides there now. Okay, and the online admission is the quickest, easiest and safest way to apply. You get a receipt, okay, and you will receive the outcome on National Offer Day quicker. If you do wish to apply via a paper application form, there is an email address there, admissions@midway.gov.uk, which you will need to request. We hold none of those forms. Okay, you will need to ask those, Midway Council for those. So when applying for secondary schools, you can apply for up to 6. You do not have to name 6, but it is important that you understand that the more schools you name, the more chance you've got of receiving the offer of a place for one of your preferences. Naming only one school does not give you a greater chance of gaining a place at that school. And I think it's important to understand the risk of not selecting 6 preferences. And particularly a risk of around just putting 1. If you only put 1 school on your preference form for secondary application and the council is unable to offer you the place at that school, you go to the bottom of the list. They will allocate to everybody else who's put multiple choices down, and once they've allocated all the school places, they will then look at yours, and then that could be anywhere. Usually the school that year that's maybe not so popular. Okay, but that might not be very local. So that is also the same risk if you don't put 6 down. Okay, if you leave any there and they work down through those preferences that you've put, if they can't and you've left things open, you could be at risk of being offered a place at a school that you don't want. Midway operates an equal preference scheme. That means the order that you put them on the form is only between you and the council. The school never see that. Okay, they won't be told where you've put them on the form. All right, but so there's just between you and the council. What the council will do is look to offer your child a place at the highest named school that they can for which your child is eligible. No school places are offered because the school is named as a first preference. All places are offered based on oversubscription criteria for each of the individual schools. More information of which is can be found on the admissions, Medway Council's admissions website. If you miss a closing date, this is one where you do have a little bit of a saving grace here, but it is in exceptional circumstances or for good reason, then they will accept late applications no later than 5 p.m. on the 11th of November. But if that is the case, you need to communicate that to Medway Council that is the case. Okay, again, we don't have that information, all right? We don't control your application forms, that they go to Midway Council. If you apply after that date, no, they won't look at that until after all of the other places have been allocated. It's really important that you meet those deadlines. When will I find out? As I said, National Offer Day, Wednesday the 1st of March. Midway residents who've applied on time will be sent an email after 4 p.m. on that day. And if you applied by paper, a letter gets sent that day. That's why you find out earlier if you applied online. If you don't live in Midway, there is also National Offer Day, but you will hear from your local authority which school has been offered. How do Midway work out what priority my child has for a place at the school that I've named? All school places are offered in accordance with each individual school's published oversubscription criteria. The school services team work in partnership with each of those schools to ensure that all applicants are prioritised, ranked correctly against the published oversubscription criteria. No school places are offered based on which preference the school is named. How do they work out which school is to be offered? Well, as I said before, and this slide pack has said, Midway offer an equal preference scheme, which means that school places are not offered on a basis which the preference you named your school. The application will be considered and prioritised against the named school's oversubscription criteria. It's difficult for me to give you examples of that because each individual school has their oversubscription criteria. But you can see all of that information on the admissions website. On the 1st of March, though, you will only receive an offer for one school. Will I definitely be offered a name preference? Midway Council, like every other council, cannot guarantee that they will offer a place at one of your named school. It will depend on how oversubscribed the schools that you have named are and where your child is prioritised against the school's oversubscription criteria. All Midway Council can do is give you information from the past. So the current year sixes that are about to start secondary school in September, so all of those year sixes across Midway, 96% of them received an offer for a school that was named on their application form. 80% received an offer of their first preference school. If your child is grammar, will I definitely be offered a grammar school? Every effort is made to ensure that a grammar assessed child is offered a grammar school. However, that is not always possible because either a non-grammar school is offered because it is a higher named preference, or there is no vacant grammar places available to be offered. If you want your child to go to a grammar school and they've sat the Midway grammar selection test, you need to put the grammar school on the application form. What happens if Midway Council can't offer a place at a school named on your application? If they're not able to offer you one of your preferences, they will offer a place at the nearest appropriate school to your home address that has vacancies. You get the offer on the 1st of March. You've got until the 29th of March to accept or refuse that offer. The details of how to do that will be in that information that you receive on the 1st of March. If you're not happy with the school place offered, again, all the details will be in the information that is given on National Offer Day, but there are various options available, such as going on a waiting list for any of the schools that were named in the original application. You can request to be considered for a Midway school for the first time. You can lodge an appeal. You can only appeal for a school that you named on your original application form but were not offered. And that includes grammar school. So if your child took the grammar selection test, did not get the required mark through that, but you still applied for a grammar school, you could appeal then for that grammar school if they weren't given. Again, we can talk through that in more specifics on a one-to-one basis if that scenario comes up in the autumn. So all of this information from this slide pack, we've put this into a YouTube video for you and emailed that link out to you. This video is on our website with this slide pack and will remain there throughout this process. But all of the information is also on Midway's admissions website. There are email addresses if you've got questions there as well. So we are here to help you. So here at Byron, we've offered, as you've already seen, secondary transfer meetings on a one-to-one basis with a school leader here in school to talk through that. So those meetings we have diarised for between the 17th and 23rd of June. That means you can have a conversation with us before the deadline for grammar selection test. You can book those via the Arbor app, and I know quite a lot of you have done that already. Those bookings are still open, but they will close on the 10th of June to enable us to organise our days around those bookings. So please, if you want to talk about your options, what you want to do, please book one of those meetings. That's what we're here for. So please use the Arbor app to book those if you have not already done so. And that is it from me for now. Thanks for watching this video and the Midway slides. Hope it was helpful. See you soon. Thank you.